Hey guys, how you doing today? Just getting off work here, walking on home. I think today I would like to speak about Doug Ford, the the incomprehensibly evil Doug Ford. And he's what's interesting about Doug Ford, right? Like, he's not like that kind of like if you remember from Care Bears, the character No Heart, right? He's not No Heart. He's beastly. He's the idiotic, dundering, stupid sidekick who managed to just be exactly in the right spot at exactly the right time with the exact right crew of people to con the right kind of people at the right kind of time. He's just like this perfect manifestation of the total failure of capitalism, right? And it's as if God himself, or itself, said, I am going to show the capitalists exactly how incomprehensibly evil and stupid they are, and this is who I will use to do it. Why do I say Doug Ford is incomprehensibly stupid and evil? Because we're at the height of the pandemic here in Toronto. Numbers are poised to continue rising, and his government's response to it is to loosen restrictions, is to continue opening up. To put it as cleanly as possible, he is sacrificing human lives so that he and his friends can get Timmy's. The restructuring of the society since COVID has looked a little something like this. If you are one of the rich, nothing really changed for you, right? You live in your gated palaces and your gated communities in the first place. It's very unlikely that you'll have regular connection with anyone who could pass this virus along. You can afford to have an assistant to go to places that might be scarier or might have a higher connection. If you're in the middle, this vanishing middle class that barely exists in our society, well, now you work from home. That's the big shift, and the one that I'm really paying attention to, right? If you're in this sort of middle, upper, affluent class of people, you work from home now, right? And what do you want more than anything? You want your Timmy's to be open. You want your retail stores to be open. You want your basic conveniences. You want your you want your life catered to. And you're willing to go along with the idea that the poor should die for it. Because that's the other part of it. If you're not middle class, if you're a low income earner, right, you're the one that's putting yourself at risk. And when you die, they'll just replace you, right? You're just expendable. That's how the system is structured, to service a vanishingly small group of sociopathic elite who themselves are propped up by a continuously shrinking group of now almost completely detached upper middle class people who are working from home. And as long as all of those people keep getting their Timmy's served to them by a lower class that can be discarded at any moment, they're fine. They're happy. And that's precisely what's going on. the Ford administration focuses itself on cutting any services, cutting anything that actually improves the lives of the citizenry. Most recently, within the last 3 or 4 days, they announced that they're going to sacrifice more wetlands, more of the green belt. They're just going to sacrifice it so that contractors can build more buildings that are unnecessary and don't need to be built. The insanity of that one is that there's already enough housing for everyone. There's enough housing for everyone. It already exists. It's just being withheld, right? That one is like literally insane. They're going to sacrifice more of our environment, destroy more of our ecosystem, tear it up, pave it, so that they can build something to fill a hole that they themselves are creating on purpose. Right? That's what tips it over, like, from stupidity to just straight up evil. Because what they want to do is, rather than just selling the properties they have or renting the properties they have or alleviating the poverty and the homelessness that exists in our society, instead of doing any of that, what they're going to do is they're going to just build more houses so that they can speculate and gamble on it, sell it to foreign investors who are using our housing market as a casino. That's the reason why housing prices and why rent prices are so insane, right? Instead of having houses that you sell to people who live in the city, right? Or having condos or having apartments that you rent or sell to people who live in the city, or even to people who are going to move into the city in order to live in it, right? They are selling these properties to foreign investors, people who live in China, people who live in India, right? Foreign billionaires who then just sit on those properties, right? Who sit on those properties until they can turn around and sell them at a higher profit, should they choose to do so, which many of them are not going to do. They're just going to sit on them and keep them empty, because it's better to have land and have property than it is to not have those things. Meanwhile, if you're a worker and you're actually doing work in your city and you're actually living in your city, you can go get fucked and die. Which, that might as well be Doug Ford's motto, get fucked and go die. Because Doug Ford, he does not, if you make less than $100,000 a year, you are not a person to him. It's in his slogan, right? For the people who make over $100,000 a year. So if you make less than $100,000 a year, you're not a person to Doug Ford. Pretty clearly, pretty plainly. And it's this sort of odious, insidious, objectively evil way of looking at the world that has infected conservative thought, that you really honestly cannot be a moral conservative any longer. It's literally not possible. The two are a contradiction of each other. To be a conservative means betraying everyone around you and living for yourself and expecting the adulation and worship of others. That's why I like Kevin O'Leary. This thing keeps going around with when Kevin O'Leary said that the grinding poverty of 1 billion people is a good thing. And I'm glad it does. I hope it continues to go around, because Kevin O'Leary is an outright sociopath who says in front of people without a shred of embarrassment, because he can't feel embarrassment because he's a sociopath, that it's good that 1 billion people are starving and living in poverty because it gives them something to aspire to, right? And of course, what he means is, I'm a god that you should look upon and worship. This kind of narcissistic self-adulation that exists in the Conservative Party just cannot be overstated. And the gullibility of the populace. Like, when Doug Ford stood up and said that he was going to leave the basic income pilot alone, people actually believed him. Like, that means you're gullible, right? That means you're gullible. If you're one of those people who heard that, Doug Ford, oh, he's going to leave the basic income pilot alone, and then you voted for him based on this overt and obvious lie that they were going to leave that project alone, that means that you're one of the most gullible people perhaps on the face of the planet. Like, you should probably not make financial decisions for yourself. Like, that's how gullible we're talking. And now that Donald Trump has been sort of foisted out of the conversation, and it's been made clear to the conservatives that there are lines, right? There are barriers. My hope is that that line steadily moves closer and closer to the left. Because right now the line is basically no fascists. And that's bad. Like, that's a bad place to be for a society. That you're saying the line that we're willing to accept you to go as far to the right as you can, except into fascism. That's a pretty major problem. That's a pretty major problem. Because, like, the privatization of the society is a massive problem that needs to be rectified. These sociopathic capitalists have shown time and time again their complete willingness to abandon anyone and everyone in order to make a quick buck for themselves. And yet we still gullibly bob our head and believe that businesses are the most efficient way of organizing the society. Like, what the fuck are you talking? There isn't a single example of that being true, right? There isn't a single example of that being true, and 1,000 examples of the opposite being true. And it makes clear and basic sense why it should be the case. You want to take a system that funds, let's use healthcare as an example. You want to take a system that funds doctors and nurses to do a job, and then you want to insert a worthless shareholder who does no work, adds no value, and doesn't participate in the enterprise at all, except to extract wealth from it for themselves. So the only way that you can actually pay for the existence of this worthless parasite is to either reduce services or deny services or raise prices. So if you're going along with this idea that privatizing anything is good, you're extremely gullible, or just evil, right? Like, or just benefiting, right? Which is evil. My hope is that we move forward in time. We also move further to the left, and we have to move further to the left. We can't continue doing this. It will destroy us. It will absolutely destroy us if we continue doing this. And, that's what happens when you let evil morons take over who are in it for money for themselves. Which is why we should expel them from the system. They should not be part of the system in any way. We should transfer the shares away from the capitalists into the workers and expel the capitalists structurally from our society permanently. Anyway, that's the end of me, guys. I hope you're doing well. Good luck. I love you all. Have fun out there.